about time we begin. So, once again, welcome to Purposeful Life of April 2024.
And what are we talking about today, Ty?
We are talking about the balance of safety and dignity of risk. Specifically, the title is Finding the Balance Between Safety and Dignity of Risk, presented by me and her. All right. So, that's the picture's display. On the top picture includes my parents, my mom on the right, and my father on the left. And then on the bottom are my mom again, and my two brothers. The long hair being JD, and the tallest one being Z.
And who are you?
I'm the one on the far left of the bottom picture.
What's your name?
Ty, of course, or Big T.
That's right, or Big T. What school do you go to?
I go to Bryan High School, but in nearly 2 months, I'm going to have the right to never need to step on the ISD property again unless I absolutely am instructed to. Don't get me wrong, the ISD has been nice, but I'm just ready to say goodbye to school and move on with life.
That's right. And we're going to be talking about that today, right? The things that we've learned since 5th grade.
Oh, yes.
And the risks that you've taken and what we've learned from those risks and those experiences and how those things have led you to be the young man that you are today, right?
That is correct.
So for anyone who is new, I am Aimee Day. I work for the Center on Disability and Development at Texas A&M University. And I'm also a mentor trainer for the learning community for person-centered practices. And what that means is that I provide training to teach people how to use person-centered thinking to discover what's important to a person, what's important for a person, and how to help that person find a good balance between those two things. And later on, there is a slide where we're going to do a very brief overview of what that means. We've done that training several times throughout the years, but person-centered thinking really is central to what we're talking about today, which is dignity of risk.
Okay, here's a question. It says, what does dignity of risk mean to you?
So that's a question for you out there. What does that mean when you hear the dignity of risk? What do you think that means?
So I think it means, at least to me, it means that allowing risk to be taken when it's a stretch but not compromising safety.
Okay, so allowing risk to be taken when it's a stretch, but not
Compromising safety.
compromising safety. Okay. And again, I'm asking what it means to you. So that is a great example, right? So we do have to think about safety when it comes to taking risks. Does anyone else want to tell me what they think the dignity of risk means to them? Specifically when it comes to their child. You're going to be quiet tonight. Yes.
We're taking all the time.
No, that's okay.
See, I guess I think of it differently than my husband because to me it's you're showing respect for your children's wishes and allowing them to do things that they want to do where there's a potential for failure, embarrassment, or something like that.
Good. Okay, so honoring your child's wishes to try things, even if failure, it could be the outcome or embarrassment. That is also another great example of the dignity of risk, and I agree with you there. We will have some discussions about that.
So I guess physical risk on my side and emotional risk on her side.
That's a very good point. Yes, physical risk on Mr. Hapala's side and emotional risk on Mrs. Hapala's side. So yes, very good. Anybody online take anything from?
No.
No? Okay. Ty, what does the dignity of risk mean to you?
What does dignity of risk mean to me? Well, let's see. It basically means if I know that the situation is basically winnable, in other words, easy to get out of, but a bit hard as well, then I'll just have to do the best I can with what I've got.
So that means you're willing to try new things?
Yes, yes I am.
And is it always something huge or is it sometimes something small?
It can be small, but it can have a lot of significance, I tell you.
Very true. Alright, you want to take to the next one?
All right, next up, we've got, what is the riskiest thing you've ever done? This could serve some memories, be warned.
Alright, so what is the riskiest thing you've ever done? I know names. I know what to be calling on people.
Anybody? Any volunteers?
Left home and went to college.
Left home and went to college. Good. What else? Anybody ever go bungee jumping or jump out of a plane?
Skydiving.
Skydiving. I went bungee jumping when I was 18. I always wanted to skydive. However, now that I am a mom, that is no longer a wish of mine. I think the risk outweigh that need of wanting to jump out of an airplane. Yes, ma'am.
I jumped from the rooftop of the house because when we were young kids.
Yes. So you jumped off the roof of your house when you were a young kid. Did you learn something?
Enjoyed.
You enjoyed it? Did you get hurt?
No, actually not at all.
You didn't get hurt.
It was like the first floor,
Mm-hmm.
like something like on the top of the.
Yes. You didn't get hurt. Did you try to get hurt?
Yes.
You did. With all the kids. Yes, I had a similar experience as well. I also jumped off the roof with an umbrella, right? Because I wanted to be Mary Poppins, and I thought that I would float down, and I didn't. And I didn't get hurt badly, but I did get hurt, and I learned not to do that again. So, anybody else? ¿Qué han hecho? Algo con riesgo.
Igual también aventarnos de un árbol, bueno, cuando estábamos ahí en México, ¿verdad? De un árbol o de allá las casas son más bajas, entonces para nosotros, para los jóvenes, nos bajábamos brincando.
Okay, so she said, you know, this is kind of a similar thing, jumping from trees, jumping from homes. And so a lot of us have similar experiences as kids, right? That was our opportunity to learn new things. And you know, thinking about children now, like how often do they get to jump out of a house or off a tree without somebody freaking out and saying you're going to get hurt or, you know, get down, don't do that. Now, Ty, do you remember, do you want to share what happened when we went, all the adults went out to eat and the kids were left at home? At your aunt's home, at school? What did they do?
Are you referring to the incident that occurred May 27, 2023?
I am referring to.
All right. Let's not refer there. Let's not call them by name.
We won't
But-
call her.
Let's just say one of them was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, but I think one of them was saying, hey, dude, I dare you to jump off the roof of the backyard porch. Is that right?
Into what?
Into the pool. They did it successfully, but I was like, no, don't.
You were really worried that Somebody was gonna get hurt, right?
Yeah. Yes, I could have physically stopped them, but at the same time, I wanted to see karma hit them hard.
We don't want karma to get your cousin.
I'm sorry, but they need to learn what karma can do. They need to learn the power of karma, because karma does not fool around. Anyways, so they walk out from one of the bedroom windows, which was open. I took pictures of evidence.
He was our reporter telling us.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And when he made it to the roof, I was like, no, don't. And he did it. Luckily, he wasn't injured, but that still didn't stop his parents from chewing him out. And I even hid in the food pantry.
So do you remember the conversation that you and I had after that?
I do not think so.
No.
Can you enlighten me, Mama?
Sure. So you and I had a conversation about kids taking risks.
Oh, yes, of course.
What your cousins learned from that experience?
Did they learn never to do it again?
Probably not. Right?
Ah.
Probably want to try it again.
No! They can't be doing that. They're gonna get hurt. And I don't want them to get
Well,
hurt.
likely the pool is deep enough, right? If the pool was a very shallow pool, then
He
that
would have
might
been
be
hurt.
different.
He would have been hurt.
Yeah, that might have been a different situation.
Or worse, had he slipped on the porch and fell, on the roof and fell? No, let's just say, El no está bien.
Didn't know he was bilingual. Alright, so let's see if we can get this next video to go.
No, this wasn't meant to shame them.
Oh gosh, not at all. If you're,
I can only apologize if I came off as derogatory.
no. What did your brother tell you? Do you remember?
It was, he didn't stop them either.
What did he say? He said, don't forget tight stitches.
Get stitches. That's basically trying to get them not to report any foul criminal behavior. You know what I'm saying?
You know, that's what the older cousin said.
And that's why victim blaming needs to end.
Alright, let's see if we can get this next video for it.
Okay, so we have a video. It involves. Oh wait, why am I even saying this? Find out for yourselves.
So we're going to watch this video. Think about your child or your student. Do they have the same opportunity to take risks?
I don't understand why you're mad at me. If anything, I should be mad at you. Introduce you to Miss Pac-Man, you just blow her off. That's gonna be a fun phone call tomorrow. It's gym class all over. You treat me like a fragile flower.
What's wrong?
We went to the ice rink, and I stayed with Miss Pac-Man. There were some disabled guys on sleds playing this really intense game of hockey. JJ wanted to join in.
Fantastic. How was it?
I wasn't allowed to play.
Who said you couldn't play? I want a name. Does it start with B? Okay, yeah, it's psychic. The presence of injustice.
I thought you'd agree with me. I figured you'd do your overprotective thing.
No, sir. This is my do not exclude my son that he can do anything thing.
It's a bad one.
Of course he can play sled hockey.
You didn't let JJ play sled hockey?
Okay, this is a sport we didn't know existed this afternoon. It was like hockey. You get hurt.
I get hurt playing sports all the time. I mean, last week I got decapitated.
That's not, no you weren't.
You weren't there.
I'm pretty sure okay.
Everybody gets hurt. Why shouldn't JJ? Because he's different?
Can you go somewhere?
You saying my son's different?
Did I say different?
In what?
I'm sorry. I was wrong. Of course you're not different. He's not, okay? If I had a second your mom?
I did get decapitated.
I believe it. It explains a lot.
All that talk. Whatever. He's different.
He's a lead. The kid's just like him. Is he come from them?
Yes.
How?
He's mine. Everything he's been through. What, 20 surgeries? We need to bash him into other kids? That's what's missing from his life?
Jimmy, there is a whole world full of people who will tell him what he can't do. That's covered. Our job is to tell him otherwise.
That is our job. You know, hey, if he gets injured, you and Kenneth know CPR.
Yeah, about Kenneth. There's a couple of CPR.
I don't understand why.
I love that clip. So tell me, what do you think about that clip? What's the point of it? Why do I show that?
Well, it basically shows you are never really different at all. I mean, whether or not you are, how do I say this without coming off as offensive? Whether or not we come far and near, born anyway, we are all human at the end of the day. It should be treated like it.
And get the same opportunities to try things.
Yes, yes indeed.
And so his little sister plays sports.
Yes. She says that she gets decapitated, which is basically.
So she was exaggerating, but she made a good point. She
Yes.
played sports all the time.
Anybody could. I mean, back when I was a former tennis player, back in Bryan High, I got hurt. It was my ankle. I got hurt, but luckily, body heals.
So what we're saying is that children with disabilities
Can play too. They should be included as well.
the same opportunities.
Yes.
To try experiences, just like typically developing children, just like you have.
But here's what I think I could do if the coach was, say, toxic to me and me alone. I would be like, you know what? Why should I try proving myself to a toxic coach?
So if the coach didn't let you try, that's what you would say? Or would you try to get an opportunity to show that you can do things?
Only when it was convenient to them. Because if not, then I was like, oh well, I'm not going to waste my time.
And so you got a chance to try lots of different activities at school, right?
Yes. Yes, I did.
What were some of the extracurricular activities you did?
Let's continue on with the presentation. I'd love to discuss what I've been through. I think we just have a slideshow to get through. Plus, we need to respect everybody's time, patience, and energy to listen to us.
Yeah.
Where did that? Ah, there it is. All right.
So what's our next question?
What are your worries/concerns?
Right, so when we're talking about the dignity of risk and your child having the opportunity to take risks, what are you scared of?
Them getting hurt either physically or emotionally.
Getting hurt physically and emotionally.
That's a good one. Anybody else? Yes.
So I'm a little bit worried this summer because my son's going to summer camp. And they're going to go to Six Flags. He's never been on a roller coaster. So I already have fears that like, oh, maybe I should go and tell him not to get on a roller coaster because once you're on, you can't get off.
Yeah.
I think I just have fears for him that it's going to affect him in a way that nobody can really help him get off. Okay. You just got to go straight through it.
Yes. So for those who are online, so her comment was that this summer her son is going to go to an amusement park with roller coasters, and she's concerned that if he tries to get on a roller coaster, then he might not be able to get off, and it might be really scary, and she's not there to provide the support. Who knows what would happen?
Oh, and there's something else I need to mention. You say that your son has like an item that like brings him immense comfort. You know what I'm trying to say? Well, it would be a very, 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 very risky move if you were to bring it on the ride, especially if the cart was open. You know what I'm saying? So basically, what I'm trying to say is, unless you have zipper pockets like these that could fit the size of the item that provides the immense comfort, I would absolutely not bring it on the ride.
Okay. That is a good advice. Right, so we're worried that our children will get hurt emotionally, physically. We're worried that.
Or mentally.
Mentally, right. We're concerned that something will happen and we're not there to provide support. I know one of the worries that I had was I was worried about police officers. right? So when Ty got upset, he hasn't looked like a little kid in a long time. He's looked like a man for a really, really long time. And so that was my fear for a really long time, right, Ty?
I suppose so.
Yeah. And so what were some of the things that we did to help you have a good relationship with police officers, which would help Mom not be afraid to allow you to do things or allow you the opportunity to
There's something else I need to also mention. Media versus real life.
Can you use your microphone?
So, as we know, there are many police officers out there. There are some that are very civil, helpful, respectful, patient. Well, there are just some who straight up use their power to do evil. And what's worse, according to some commenters, they're never held accountable thanks to qualified immunity, or QI for short. And that could be one of the reasons QI needs to be abolished.
Is that something you're learning in government class?
No, not really. I've seen it on the internet, etc.
Yes. So one of the things that we did, right, because you had a goal of learning to drive your car.
Yes.
And when you drive a car, you will always have the risk of possibly getting pulled over by a police officer.
For any reason, even if I did nothing.
So, and that was one of my big fears. And so one of the ways that I helped myself was by providing training for BPD on how to support autistic people through emergencies. And then with time, we practiced having a conversation. Like, okay, you're getting pulled over, you did this, show me where your hand's gonna be. Are you gonna go looking for, your ID while they're walking over here? And so we practice these things, and I know we recently had.
Never try to reach for anything. Because the officer, they are trained to be prepared for the worst. And they could automatically see it as you reaching for a weapon. And say, watch this. Mom, you're the driver who gets out of the car casually to greet me as if I was a friend.
Okay.
So, watch this. Hey bro, what's up? Stay in your vehicle! Stay in your vehicle!
Okay. Yes, sir. Sorry, I was just coming to say hello.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Anyways, so, do you know why I pulled you over? And sometimes I think the best answer is, no, I do not know.
That's right. Let's have those conversations.
We're probably going 10 over the limit.
Right. You're so safe when they're asking you questions. Do you want to play to the next one?
Yep. Taking risks can lead to A. Increased confidence. B. Gaining more independence. C. Overcoming fears. D. Pride and accomplishment. E. More opportunities. And F. Learning from mistakes.
So there's a lot of positive benefits from taking risks. And Ty, we have seen when you take risks, like you feel really proud of yourself.
Yes. Yes, I do.
When you accomplish things.
Yes.
And I know my definition of risk is very different from your definition of risk. Would you like to share the story of when you decided you were going to try to eat a dumpling?
No.
No? You don't want to share that story?
Well, I'm just going to cut it short. I tried it. I got to taste it, and let's just say my body didn't agree with it.
Your body did not agree with it. So you're starting to take some small risks when it comes to expanding what you eat, right?
Yes. Yes.
You are working where you work.
Wings and more.
You work at
Or in Spanish, español, alitas y más.
And so, what are some of the small risks that you've taken? What are some of the new foods that you've tried?
Probando comidas nuevas, trying new foods. ¿Qué más? What else?
So what did you try? You tried
Un dumpling, una comida original del país del chino.
the China.
Oh, I didn't realize it was Chino.
Is this? Yes. So
Hmm.
you try the dumpling.
Mi cuerpo se dice, bájate, bájate.
So your body does not like a dumpling. And you know, so we're having this conversation around risk, and we always start thinking about these big, huge risks. But really, I mean, it's everyday little risks. And I know that as parents, sometimes we want to have our kids try new foods. And I remember having somebody come to my home and do therapy and try to almost force him to try new things. And I had to learn that there was an actual reason why he didn't want to try new foods, right? It's not because he's picky. There is a physical reason. And so now that he's gotten older, he is willing to try new foods on his own. And so, you know, it can be a little bit risky because for you, in your mind, trying that dumpling was pretty risky, right? Yeah. And that had led us, so that's, you know, it was definitely a negative experience because his body had a really large reaction to the feeling of a steamed dumpling. Especially when you are a chicken nuggets and fries person, right? Having a steamed dumpling, that's a big risk. And
Or a noodles person, or a sausage, or basically a meat eater.
yeah. And so what we learned from that was that also ties into medications, right? So when he takes really thick medication, his body won't let him. And so, you know, it was a negative.
A thick consistent, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So, yeah.
I'm talking about you.
As she said, thick consistencies such as honey, large pills, can really irritate my body, or my esophagus, which is located somewhere in my neck. Anybody's neck.
So it helped him to gain independence, to know that that is actually something that he puts down in his one-page prescription for his doctors, to know like, hey, if you need to give me a prescription for medicine, I cannot take medicine that is of this consistency. You're gonna have to come up with something else.
Or split it into smaller pieces.
Right? So when you learn how to take pills, right? And Dad taught me that. That was scary for me, for him to learn how to swallow a pill. And Dad taught me, right?
We got someone raising their hand.
Yes, sir.
I have a son that's 4 years old and he has the diversity of medicine, and antibiotics is always a struggle because it's something you have to finish it. It's always like, it's like, but I try to get a lot of independence. I'm like, well, you need to get better. Until I found out they apparently made antibiotics in gummy form. I didn't even know that was a thing. It's actually a thing. So then next time we ever, hopefully we never have that again, but next time we have to have it, we'll figure out somehow how to do that.
Yeah, wow. That's good. All right, so for our online viewers, he just mentioned that, you know, for his son, taking antibiotics is very difficult. Then he found out that there's such a thing as gummy form of antibiotics. And that's a way that he can take the medicine, hopefully independently as he gets older, right? Because that is something that leads to more independence. Ty, do you remember what you were doing in that picture?
All right, so what I was doing in that picture was I was riding in a plane for the first time. Now, my mom, being who she was, concerned at the time, right?
Very concerned.
Because here's what I think she thought. What if he grabs the controls out of excitement and then causes them to lose control? And then, yeah, I'm not gonna go and say anymore. But the outcome was way different than what she'd imagined. I turned out to have fun with the pilot.
Good. So I chose this picture because this is the first memory that I have where he was really doing something very risky. And I really thought through this. Okay, am I going to allow him to be able to get on a two-seater plane with a complete stranger who is giving kids rides on his plane? And then knowing that he could grab the controls at any moment, like Ty said, and actually get hurt.
That's not something I would do.
That I know,
That was never in my mind.
but I was really scared about that.
Yeah.
And so my other son was there, and I did not have the same concept for him. And so I thought, I'm having a double standard with my one child, versus my other child. And then we talked to the pilot, right? And we let the pilot know that Mom was scared. Do you remember what the pilot said?
The pilot still accepted.
Can you use your microphone?
The pilot seemed pretty confident, I think.
He did, and he said, how about we do one lap around.
So basically, it was starting small, but working our way up.
Right. So he said, we're gonna do one lap around, where we stay on the ground, and we're gonna look and see how Ty does, and if Ty's ready, then we're gonna go. And he went one lap around, and he was so excited, and they flew up. And
Basically, it was like one of the times of my life, you could say.
It was very exciting. And so did that help you feel confident?
I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
Especially if, how do I put this? If I had driven an airway vehicle instead of a roadway vehicle. I just wish I could have my own jet. But we don't have any room for a runway.
Not at home. But maybe you'll make enough money in the future to do that.
Or maybe we could just build a shrinkinator. Yes.
And then after this plane, you rode another plane. Do you remember the other plane? That plane didn't even have doors. Do you remember that one?
It was pretty scary in your eyes.
Yeah. So then
And imagine what could have happened had I fallen off.
Yeah, so he went from riding this plane to riding a plane that didn't.
Mission failed. Ty died.
Oh gosh.
That was a GTA 5 reference.
So Ty taking small risks and big risks and learning from them, and the opportunity of getting to ride that plane led to another opportunity of him riding another plane that didn't have doors, which was even more scary for me. But you did it successfully, and you were so proud of yourself, and I was really proud of you too. Go ahead and click to the next slide.
All right.
Sorry.
So, we have people of different regions. It's not always a big risk.
So as we mentioned, we're not here saying don't think about safety, let your kids do whatever. We're saying, think about what you were able to do at your child's age. So it starts off small. It starts off with, maybe letting your kid walk to the mailbox to get the mail and come back. And what do they need to learn in order to be able to do that successfully? And what are some of the other pictures you have up there? Oh, we'll go back.
My fault. How do I add the other pictures?
What is the picture in the snow?
Wearing what is meant to be high temperature clothing in low temperature weather.
So how many of you have that child that likes to wear shorts during the winter? Yeah. All kids like to wear shorts.
And in Vietnam.
So that is also another opportunity to take a risk. Now, when we're thinking about things, yeah, go ahead.
La embajada a la alta izquierda es un niño usando pantalones cortas y una camisa corta en el invierno.
So the picture on the
Bajo tiempo, muy bajo tiempo.
So you said it's a picture of a boy wearing a short t-shirt and shorts in cold weather.
Sí. La tienda tiene mucha fría.
And so in the picture, you can see the mom is chasing them around with like a jacket, and I'm sure you have been there, right?
Ella sabe dice, hijo, usa esta chaqueta por favor.
Yeah, that's what she's saying, right?
Which translates to, son, wear this jacket. It's safe.
Right. So risk, the ability to take a risk starts young, right? Little, getting to pick out your clothes, even if it is so hard for you, right? To let your kid go outdoor wearing clothes that don't match, right? Or wearing clothes that aren't appropriate for the weather. They're gonna learn. Like if they get cold, they're gonna learn that they get cold. However, I'm not saying if you have a child who is medically fragile and has perhaps some issues with breathing or something like that, now that's completely different. That's when later on we're going to start talking about how we think through that. Ty, we have a lot of conversations about clothing, right?
Yes, we do.
And sometimes I think you should wear different clothes, right?
Yes.
But you've been got your clothes for a long time now. And you always have your specific reasons why you want to wear it.
Like, for example, wearing these Pacific blue colored shorts, and my mom has always complimented, it's a bit too small for you, Ty. Which is understandable, but even if my items tend to stick out, well, at least they don't bounce around.
So you like to wear those, specifically those pants, because they hold all of your things in place, all of your chairs.
Very security, with a lot of security.
And so our kids have specific reasons for wanting to wear things. So it could be sensory wise.
Or it could bring them immense comfort.
Right, or it could bring comfort. Now, again, thinking of that dignity of risk, there are times where the shorts that he wanted to wear, he wore them down so much they had holes where it wasn't appropriate. Right? So then I wasn't going to say, oh, you get to decide what to do. No. Can you go to school with shorts that have holes in inappropriate places?
Well, imagine what would happen if you had no underwear on or no shorts.
Right. So at that point, then that's when mom steps in and says, okay, we're going to have to find another pair of shorts that provide the same, whatever it is that you're, enjoying about those shorts. And for you, it's about being able to keep your things organized and tight.
In place.
Right. But for other kids, it might be things that are soft. Ty does not like wearing pants, but as Wings and Lord, he has to wear pants.
And I've adapted to that.
And you have adapted to that. And why have you been willing to wear pants for work? What is the benefit?
Well, let's see. Should I have to make a trip to the freezer to collect cookie dough so we can bake cookies? Yes, we do sell cookies. Only in these 3 flavors. Oatmeal raisin, sugar, and chocolate chip.
You get paid extra.
And it generally looks professional.
It looks professional, right? And then, so you have a job, and what is it that you like about having a job?
Earning dinero, money.
Money, right?
Watch my fingers. Necesito dinero para vivir.
Right, so he made that choice on his own of, okay, I really do not like wearing pants, but I really want this job and I want to make money. So he was willing to make that trade-off of wearing pants every time he goes to work.
I just knew that I would have to do that.
Yeah.
And I've eventually grown accustomed to it somehow. Although on high temperature days in the summer, I'm like, man, wearing pants does suck, but it's part of professionalism, I suppose. Now, if it wasn't in the professional category, I would be more than happy to wear these shorts all the time. And I just failed to see how exposed the leg could be classified as unprofessional. Maybe I'll learn more about that in the future. Like, what makes the legs, if legs could be exposed, like, if arms could be exposed at work, what's wrong with legs being exposed?
Great, and we've had this discussion, it just depends on where you work.
Yes, that's right.
Can you click to the next one?
Next slide. All right. Safety, dignity, risk.
Can you click it one more time?
Dignity, risk, safety, and dignity of risk. We will need to find a balance. Parents, if your kids haven't learned, I would suggest you and kids work together to find a balance. But Don, what if they're not willing to cooperate? Well, all you gotta do is give it time and let them know you're there for them whenever they need it.
That's good. That's a good thing to say. And so what, no, you don't have to click yet. Thank you. And so this slide is just us saying, you know, usually when we're talking about risk, we automatically think safety first. And then maybe we might think about the dignity of risk, and maybe we don't. Maybe we get stuck in safety. And so what I want us to do differently as parents, as teachers, as people who support people with disabilities, is to think about the dignity of risk first. And we're going to have some questions that will help you think about that. And then go on to safety. Okay, so we've thought about the dignity of risk, and the person has the right to try this. What do we need to do to ensure that we're teaching them how to do this safely? And then we go back to dignity of risk again. So we've thought through it each time. Thought about the dignity of risk. We've discussed the safety aspect of it, and then we go back to dignity of risk to figure out, okay, what do we need to do next? You can go ahead and click it up.
All right, next page. Wait, what's happened?
And click it one more time.
That's better. Anyways, so the question is, how do we help others to make informed choices when it comes to risk? Any ideas?
So Ty, when you say, I want to drive 120 miles an hour on the road, what do I say?
Es muy peligroso.
Right, it's dangerous.
It's very dangerous. Plus, this is not my favorite Nintendo exclusive racing franchise that has been long since abandoned, called F-Zero, which is a failing grade in both letter and number form.
Right, so you love racing games, and now that you have your driver's license.
Yeah, if all speed limit signs were changed to no speed limit, I would basically treat the areas like a racing track.
But do I say, hey Ty, you can go 120 miles an hour?
No.
What do we talk about? What are the safety things that we talk about?
Well, only go as fast as you're allowed to on the freeway, which is like 70 miles an hour.
Okay, so we talk about laws.
Yes.
Laws limit our choices.
Yes.
What else?
And even though we can't be physically stopped from going 120, but here's what would happen if I were to travel 120 in a freeway. Mama, you would be scared, correct?
I would be very frightened, yes.
Especially if I were to like challenge, say, a road rager to a race.
Yeah.
Like if I were to roll down my window, and if he were to do that too, if I was like, "Sup, bro?"
Like on the movies.
Yeah. How's about you and I race to the next signal, to the next traffic light section? Sure, you're on, bro.
So you're right. Some people do that, right? There are people that do exactly that.
And trust me, they're not gonna be safe. If they were to be as reckless as their behavior, they would sideswipe, which is basically side attacking. And if they were to do a spin attack, which you do the Z button using a GameCube controller, they would crash. They would not stay on the road if they were trying to do the spin attack.
Okay, I don't think other people know what you're talking about.
Oh well, never mind.
But so when you say, I want to go 120 miles an hour, right, how do we talk through that, you and I? We talk about laws.
Yep, laws.
What else do we talk about?
The consequences, of our driving, if no laws were to get involved. Even if no laws were to get involved, here's what happens. I could run into another vehicle. I could crash into something. I could fly off course. Right? And there would be no magnet to just pick up the car and place it back on the road as if nothing had happened.
Yeah, life is not a video game.
Life is no video game, unfortunately.
So we talk about how, right, he has choices without consequences.
Yep.
There are always consequences.
They can be good, they can be neutral, or they can be bad.
And so the way that we help people and our children make informed choices is we have these discussions, or we show them pictures if your child doesn't communicate with words, So let's say we're going with something simple, like allowing them to pick their own clothes. I was just heard a keynote speaker recently, an adult, say that his father didn't let him pick out his own clothes until he was like almost an adult. So he's a young man, he uses a wheelchair. And so he was talking about, the exact same thing that did in the New York Press, that he didn't get to pick out his own clothes for a really, really long time because it was really important to his father for him to look good. And so the same thing for Ty when he was little. I wanted him to look good because to me that was a representation of me as a parent. And so what I did was, we picked out clothing that was a little bit easier to, just pick one thing to the other, and it wouldn't necessarily be like super horrible if it didn't match or anything like that. And he got to pick out his clothes from a really early age. And so him getting to make that choice of what am I going to wear today, or what am I going to eat for breakfast today.
Yep.
Yes, we have a question.
Kind of more of a comment. One way I found around that, to let him pick his own clothes, there's house clothes and then there's out clothes. So if he has something on that doesn't quite match, I'm like, oh no, that's house clothes.
Okay, so you don't have words, house clothes and out clothes.
Yeah.
Right. But allowing them to be able to pick their clothes. That's one way that we start. And then informing them of, okay, well now if you wear these shorts with a hole in them to school, what's going to happen? Other kids might laugh at you, you might get in trouble for having a hole, where it's not supposed to be, or being against the dress code.
There's something else I need to mention. These days, teachers are not going to tell the students, that's enough. This matter is not funny. You wouldn't like to be in his place now, would you? He or she says, shooting a glare at them. No, sir, to the students, as I thought. Anyways, I'll be back. Mr./Mrs. So-and-so, could you watch over them while I deal with /him or her? Thank you. And then, so yeah, teachers don't just tell the kids to stop laughing, Because all the time would be nice, because this ain't the circus. This ain't entertainment. I don't know why finding people upset why anybody would find anything that upsets people to be entertaining.
So you are right, talking about, let's say, kids picking out their clothes and other kids being mean to them about their clothing, right? That is a risk.
Yes.
And so we have conversations about that.
You know what else is a risk? Here's something else that could be a risk. If the child were to like not be easily saddened by their comments. Like the bully says, "Ew, I hate your clothing." Sad. I hate yours too, said the child with the bully. Like if the child was just straight up like not like fazed by their comments, or like telling them to go jump off a cliff. That would basically be verbal involuntary manslaughter as an adult, I think. But that's just my guess.
So are you saying that it's important for parents, to teach their kids how to be confident?
Yes.
Even if they're
Yes.
15, clothing that maybe is something that other people would wear, right? To be okay with that.
Yeah,
That's
because
important.
these days, I don't know how to say it, but not all humans are going to like be one with each other, you know? Like, if I could be one with my video games, then surely I could be one with you guys. Right?
Okay, so going
I
back
have a
to,
comment. So I
Let's
feel
hear
like this entire section like is for me, right? And I'm feeling incredibly guilty. So my son either wants to be naked when he's at home, or he wants to wear the same shirt every single day that he leaves. And I fight with him every day about it. And sometimes, he digs it out of the dirty laundry. And sometimes I let him take it to school with him, so he has it with him, but he comes home with it on. Just like today. He wore something else to school because I forced him to. Came home with the shirt on. So, am I hearing that I should allow him to wear this shirt every day, but instead talk to him about comments that other people may make to him, like, you know, about how he wears the same shirt every single day? Ty?
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. I appreciate it.
can you kind of say what she said for the online people?
So, let's see if I have this correct. Your son likes wearing one shirt, the same shirt every day, is that correct?
Yes.
Especially as to go as far as to dig it out of the dirty laundry. And you seem to have an issue with it, am I correct?
Yes, I do.
What do you fear could happen should he do it?
People are going to think we're dirty, or they're going to make fun of him. You know, we have a whole drawer full of nice shirts. He needs to wear one of them.
Well,
this is my thought process.
Sounds understandable.
Can I say something?
Let's hear it.
My son also liked some shoes, navy and gray from Gap, and I bought all like 10, 15, and he wears every day same shirt new, and so does the very smart people now doing it. So we have to be, it's okay if it is clean and it's same color, same, so what? Uniforms are also same. In fact, they should be uniform in the school here, but they are not. It's not there. But if he's wearing same gray or navy or any shirt, buy a lot. Buy a dozen, 2 dozen, and 3. That's what I will do. I'm doing. And he's happy with that. What do you think?
So, Ty.
Yes.
So, what's the discussion that we've been having this week about the exact same thing?
After 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Mom has given me an issue about it. Is that correct?
And so, what have you been doing?
I've worn the same shirt and shorts for 3 days, 3 school days, which I consider to be like unofficial school uniform, you know?
So we had a conversation, right? I said, tell me more about that shirt. What is it about that shirt that you like so much that you want to wear it every day? What did you say?
It's tightness.
Okay. And that
For the Marine shirt.
And it made you feel
stronger than I look.
It made you feel stronger. So you like that it was tight?
Yes, because I could look as if I was tough, not to be messed with.
So it's about like your muscles kind of showing a little bit.
I guess you could say that, yes. But I've learned that some people, that it kills any interest other people may have. You know?
Wearing tight clothes?
Yes.
Well, again, that's part of making the informed choice when it comes to your clothes.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we're going through that exact same thing this week, and just like you said, I had the same conversation with him. The people are going to think that we're dirty, that you don't bathe because you're wearing the same shirt. And so I had to stop myself and say, okay, I need to find out what it is about the shirt that is so important to him so that I can understand it. And I'm not saying, okay, don't do it, but I understand why. And if I can help him find other shirts that help him feel the same, or give him comfort, or whatever is the reason that your son likes to wear that shirt, then that's what we would do to support him, so that he could still have the choice of wearing that shirt. And so I had to change that within myself, to say, you know what? Okay, he's choosing to do that, and just like you said, uniforms, people wear the same thing. He wears the same thing when he goes to work, so, it's okay. The other thing that you mentioned, we can talk about that later if you like. But yeah, if you can, I would suggest you try to dig deeper and find out what it is about those clothes. And then if you can support him to find other things that are similar. Because, for example, these types of shorts are very, very important. 2-tie and important 4-tie. And it is because he likes to have zippers. He doesn't like pockets that don't have zippers, because all of his important things are in there and he doesn't want them to fall out. And so when we're purchasing pants and shoes and things like that, we have to look for that. And so that
especially because the fabric is pretty stretchy.
Yeah. So we have to think about things like the fabric and all that. Yes. Yes.
Someone made a comment, their daughter went to school today in Christmas leggings because they are soft.
Awesome. And I'm so happy that you understand why she wore those Christmas leggings, because they are soft. Okay, yes.
All right, let's see what we got. All right, a quick reminder. Foundation of PCT, person-centered thinking. Important 4, health and safety, and being valued. Of course, we all want to feel like we're important in the society. And of course, health and safety is valuable, or invaluable. The reason I say invaluable is because, our health and safety is irreplaceable. Right?
So what's the other part of the balance?
Important 2, people, status and control, things to do / places to go, routines, identity and culture, place of life, pace of life, things to have, and purpose and meaning.
So if you haven't attended one of our other trainings, this is the foundation of person-centered thinking. And so when you are having discussions, or you're thinking through helping your child try something new, take a risk, and so we want to make sure that we're looking at both sides of this balance. So we're not saying, let your kids take any risk they want. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that we're going to try to figure out, why do they want to do that? And then we're going to think about, okay, so what is the health aspect of that? What is the safety aspect of that I need to think through? So just the quick reminder of what these 2 things are, because the next group of questions refer to them, is when we're looking for things that are important for a person, you're thinking about what they need for their health and their safety. And then I'm going to show you an example of that. And also what they need to be valued. So thinking of them wearing the same clothing over and over, and other people may be saying things about them, we have those conversations with them, and we say, okay, people might think you, are a dirty person because you're wearing clothing that smells. So maybe we just support you so that you wash your clothes every day. If that's your favorite shirt and you want to wear it every day, then we'll just make sure that we're going to teach you how to wash your own shirt so that you can wash it and wear it. Yes, there's another comment.
Yes, allowing my daughter to fail has been one of the hardest but necessary things.
Thank you so much for that comment. It is very hard to allow kids to fail and allow kids, for them, we don't want our kids to get bullied. We don't want our kids, people to make fun of our kids, right? But if we're having those discussions of why do you want to do that, and then or choosing not to wear deodorant, you know. Yes, sir. Was there a comment? Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't put it to you. But I was just saying, you know, as you were talking through this presentation about taking risks versus safety, one of the things that I constantly am finding myself rethinking having some autism, this whole idea of using common sense. Like sometimes, like, what does that even mean? Because we always think in our mind, it's so easy in our mind to say, oh, this is just common sense. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, just because it's your way, it doesn't necessarily mean it's common sense and understanding. And I've been really, not to get all transcendent, but like I'm really been starting to rethink that like it's some very famous people that I recently learned, rich people that are on the spectrum. Like I did not know Elon Musk is on the spectrum. I learned it from the billionaire Tesla guy. And like one of the things he was saying is that one of the comments he was making, maybe it was someone else, said that it's a lot of people are in prison because they didn't use common sense. A lot of people are billionaires because they did not use common sense. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like sometimes just because it might not make sense to us, it's so easy to tell my son, no, don't do that, use common sense. But it's like, wait a minute. maybe he needs to do it that way.
Yeah.
Or maybe he needs to do that thing. Just take that risk.
Take that risk, right? So that was a comment about common sense. And how, you know, we all have different ways that we view things, and for some of us it might be common sense to do it one way, and then somebody else wants to do it a different way, and you know, that's okay. Going back to how we help our kids make informed choices. So we have those conversations about their health and their safety, and what do they need to learn to stay healthy and safe while they're trying something new. You know, we have the conversations of, okay, well, if you wear this shirt that's really tight, you know, it might look good to you, but it might not look good to the girls, right? The girls might not like that. So that might go with being valued. You know, there's a story in the training that we do about a man who really likes to wear a shirt that has a very inappropriate saying, and you know, those shirts are sold for reasons, and so there are places where you can wear shirts like that and it's okay, and then there are places where you don't wear shirts like that. And so it's about having these conversations of, okay, are you going to wear this shirt at grandma's house, or are you going to wear this shirt over here, you know, where other people have kind of like the same values, and so our choices are limited by family values. Now, Ty, you know, we talk about how you like a curse word, right?
That's right. As a person, I do like swearing, but that's just not right to some other people, and it's their values.
Right, and so we had those discussions because when he was younger, that was a really big thing, was the cursing at school. And, you know, we got to a point where when we were talking to the support staff, we were saying, you know what, just ignore it. Just pretend like he didn't say anything. And as we got older, we were able to have these conversations of, you know, okay, you're going to be an adult. You get the right to decide what you want to say, right? There are lots of adults out there that curse, and that's okay. There's lots of families out there that curse around their kids. That's their own family values, and to them it's okay to curse around their kids. But, you know, my mom doesn't like curse words. My husband doesn't like curse words. My sister doesn't like curse words. So we had the conversation of, okay, you can curse around mom, you can curse around your brothers, but, you know, grandma has a different value, so we're not going to curse around her because there will be different consequences over there. You know, she's going to feel uncomfortable, she's going to feel disrespected. So helping him think through those choices are important for him to be able to make an informed choice. Okay, so going back to important too. So when we're thinking about the things that are important too, so we're thinking about a t-shirt, right? We're thinking about the people that are in their lives. We're thinking about things that bring them status and control, and the things that people enjoy doing, the places that they like going, and their routines, their rituals that are important to them. We're thinking of identity and culture and pace of life, things to have, and what brings them purpose and meaning. So now you have this very quick definition of what those two terms mean. If I can go to the next slide. So do you want to read the questions that we want parents to ask themselves?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I just had a stretch. Sitting for a long period of time can be pretty understimulating. Anyways, so here are these questions. Have you discovered the important two tied to that experience/risk?
So, go back to that definition of important two when they're saying, I want to do this, right? Think about those different aspects of life, people. Do they want to do that because they want to be around people and they want to make friends? Do they want to do that because it's something that might bring them status and control? Yes, Tanya, they're coming on.
Oh my God, this type is so small. How can we help our kids articulate the importance to them when they can't find the words or can't without promoting it? And there's a C more, but I can't make it work.
Okay. So the way that we discover what's important to people, if
I can't do it.
child doesn't use words to communicate, is I've looked through
Oh my God.
child's drawings.
Oh,
So
I got
if
it.
a child likes to draw, that is one clue that I've used to see what is important to my son. He will draw the things that bring him happiness and joy, and important too are the things that bring us happiness and joy and comfort and fulfillment. What do they have in their rooms? What do they enjoy eating? Who do they like to hang out with? Who are their favorite teachers? So you can observe people to figure out what's important to them. You can look for clues in rooms. You can look for clues in the things that they take to school or the things that they take, if they're going to go out to the store and they're like, I have to bring, I'm packing my pencils and my paper, right? Then art is important to them. And that's something that that we want to think about. So Ty, what is the second question that we have?
All right. Have you taken steps to inform them of any risks associated with that experience? And have you discussed and addressed the important four of the experience? Find the balance, made accommodations as needed.
Okay, perfect. So first we discover what is it that's important to them about that risk, that new experience that they want. And then we're going to think about, okay, so then what's the important for? What do they need to learn to be healthy and safe while they try this new experience? And then, do we need to make any accommodations? So if at school they're saying, I really want to try tennis, and people are like, oh, well, I don't know about that. They, have a hard time running, so this might be dangerous. Then we're going to think through this with our team. Okay, so what accommodations do we need to make, if any, so that he can be in this class with other students? What was the next one?
Thank you for asking. Next is, did you discuss what was learned from their attempt, even if it was a negative experience?
So if they decide, okay, I'm going to wear my shirt for the 4th time to school, and finally somebody said something to them, right? Did you have a conversation about that? And what happened? And what did they learn? Are they going to decide they're going to keep doing it? Or maybe do they want to, try another shirt that maybe, if we've discovered the importance of that shirt, that maybe after they had that negative experience, they're willing to try another shirt.
Looks like we have a question to the left.
It's really a comment. My son, he didn't want to brush his teeth. So I have to brush his teeth every day. Well, I have, 3 children. So I was telling him, I was like, look, Lennox, I can't brush your teeth every single day. Why don't you want to brush your own teeth? I've taught him how to do it. And I said, if you don't brush your teeth, there are risks to not brushing your teeth. And so there was a few days for the school. I said, I'm done. I cannot brush your teeth anymore. I said, I have 2 other kids. And I was like, there's just, you gotta do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that 3rd day, somebody at school told me that his breath stinks. And ever since then, he's been brushing his teeth.
So it wasn't.
I gave up. I mean, not gave up, but I just told him, I was like, you're going to hear it.
So then, we're going to discuss, what they think should be done differently next time. Do they want to try it again? And then ask yourself, would I have to get permission before doing it? Okay, so even if there was a possibility of injury or if it's harmful to your health, right? Because we're always thinking they're going to be adults. So when they're an adult, they're going to have the right to try these new things and do things. So, when you were their age, did you have to ask for permission to be able to do this? When the last one, we have to prove that you can do it perfectly before taking the risk. And so sometimes we kind of get stuck in this, we're going to teach them all of these skills. They're going to have to learn how to do everything perfectly before they can try it. Right? And that's not how life was for us, or at least, for me, it wasn't that way. When I learned how to ride a bike, I mean, it was like, okay, you learned, you're out of here. I didn't have to show my parents that I knew how to follow rules or anything at all. Now, click to the next lifetime. We're a little bit behind.
Riding a bike around town. What was the importance to Ty to not wanting to learn to ride a bike?
So why did you want to learn how to ride a bike?
Because I didn't want to have to, because I wanted to play Pokemon Go in a much quicker manner.
Yes. So you were how old?
I was about 13 years old, and it took place during July of 2023, which is about 2 weeks after our trip to Puerto Rico. Yes. Or it had to have been a bit after a week.
And so did you and I talk about the risks of riding a bike?
Oh, yes, we did.
And did you learn some things about things?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did.
And so then you learned how to ride this bike, but you didn't just want to ride your bike around the neighborhood, right?
I wanted to go far. Campus specifically.
You wanted to go on campus.
That's right.
Right. So then how did we practice that?
Well, I started off with Mom following me in her vehicle, and we see where we go from there.
So we did. We thought about the dignity of risk. And I said, okay, I was riding a bike way younger than he was. My parents had no clue where I was, right? Because I'm a child of the 70s. So, I was gone. I mean, not even in the same neighborhood. I was out there. Of course, times are different. But, he was 13, almost 14, and I said, okay, we're going to learn safety. So he learned about wearing a helmet, he learned signs, he practiced stopping at stop signs and all of that. We looked at a map to figure out what's the safest route for him to get on campus, and then he practiced that route with me following him, and then he got to go. So this wasn't like a year-long thing. This was just a couple of weeks of him learning these steps, and then off he went. And then, so did we have, did something happen? Did you get hurt?
Oh, yes.
You did. And were you worried that I was...
Yes, I was worried that you were going to take me bike away, but however, you didn't.
What did I tell you?
You were just glad that I was safe.
When I said Mom had an accident when she was in high school and college, right?
Nobody told her she couldn't ride her bike anymore, so why should my case be different?
Right. Exactly. So I got hurt in college, and I still got to ride a bike. You got hurt on your bike.
And it was pretty much the same case. It's a good thing I brought gloves in case my chain came off, because I knew how to just put it back on.
So you learned from the experience, you learned how to put a chain back on, you learned that you needed to take gloves with you because you don't like getting your hands dirty.
That is correct.
You had a little fanny pack of tools, so
yes.
You were prepared. So you learned all these things from that experience. Okay, click to the next one.
All right.
We're almost done.
Experiences which led to me getting my license. Staying home alone, which took place in the 6th grade. Bike, which happened during my 8th grade school year. PTD bus, just before 10th grade, my sophomore year. Uber during my 10th grade year. Parent-taught driver's ed my junior year. And finally, my driver's license my senior year. And I was so happy. It was my 4th attempt. It couldn't have been my 3rd attempt. Which, as they say, 3rd time was the charm. But in my case, it was 4th time was the charm.
Yes, so we discussed about how he told me what his vision of good life was. He said that he wanted to drive, he wanted to have his own car, he specifically wants a van because he wants to have children and he wants to have space.
Wanted. Keyword. Wanted, not want.
So, did you change your mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, having kids can be nice, but I don't think I'm ready for fatherhood yet. It is nice, but I'm just not ready.
So, sorry, because we're a little bit behind. So, if he wants to be able to drive, then he, had to learn how to be home by himself. And so those were our first steps for him to have that independence. And I don't know if you can see it, so it wasn't, oh, you want to be home by yourself? Okay, great, here you go, you're going to be home by yourself. We had to take some steps. So this was his after-school safety rules for when he got home from school. And so he knew what he was supposed to do. So we had visual aids for him to remember, okay, I have to lock my door, and I have to call mom and tell her I'm here, and I can, go to the kitchen and make myself a snack, but I'm not going to cook anything because there's no adults around. I'm not going to leave the house. And if there's a fire, right, we practice.
No saving items, nor the kitty. Right. Because firefighters would save Medianoche, a daddy's girl.
Okay, last slide.
Risk, then, is not just part of life, it is life. The place between your comfort zone and your dream is where life takes place. It's the high anxiety zone, but it's also where you discover who you are by making. Vodice.
Sounds good to me, I don't know.
And then living isn't doing everything by yourself, it's being in control of how things are done. By Judy Human.
So just, something to think about as we close out. As Nick says, risk is not just part of life, it is life. And then when we're thinking about maybe children having more support or adults who need more support, it's not about being able to do everything by yourself, it's about having the right to say how things are done. So as we're remembering that our children have the right to take risks and make their own choices and make informed choices, it starts off little, but as we're empowering them to make those choices, then they eventually become young adults like Ty, who have the power to make their own choices.
That's right.
Okay, we are done.
Yes, indeed, we are done. So, any questions?
Any questions online?
Not yet.
Okay then. Thank you. Gracias. Thank you. Gracias.
Fill out your surveys and turn those in. And thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, indeed.
Share his experiences, and we'll see you in May.
It was a pleasure. Es un placer.
Done?
That's all. We'll see you guys.